I'm meteorologist Nicholas Herbosa with Fox 10 News. As of the 4 p.m. Central Daylight Time advisory, we now have Tropical Storm Debby in the southeastern Gulf of Mexico. Tropical Depression 4 has emerged into the Gulf of Mexico, developing thunderstorms around the center and strengthening gradually. Now we have a 40-mile-per-hour tropical storm. It's continuing, moving to the northeast at 15 miles per hour. Has a slightly elongated center, or it had a slightly elongated center, meaning that there are a couple areas of rotation and spin around the overall center of the storm. In fact, if you watch really closely, you see one tighter area of spin that looks like it's moving to the west or southwest there. This is in the broader circulation, but understand that this circulation is gradually coming together and will get better defined as it moves over the waters here, the very warm waters of the Gulf of Mexico. So once again, 40 miles per hour is our winds right now. We're moving to the northwest at 15 miles per hour. This track takes it offshore of the Florida Peninsula, so off of the west coast of Florida. However, just because the coast is not in the cone here does not mean they will see impacts. We are likely going to see tropical storm conditions right on the west coast of Florida here. Then you see this, a Category 1 hurricane possibly approaching the Big Bend of Florida. This thing is expected to strengthen into a hurricane, likely being a Category 1 at landfall. One of the reasons why this will strengthen is because some of the water that this is moving over is the warmest in the Gulf of Mexico, 85, 88, near 90 degrees. So very warm water that it can take advantage of. The overall environment around the storm is favorable. There is some very, very light wind shear, especially as it gets closer and closer to the coast, but it will likely not prevent strengthening. So we will take advantage of the warm waters as it approaches. Here's a look at the high-res visible satellite imagery, and you can see that it is already taking advantage of the warm water, and we're seeing thunderstorms developing around the center. A larger thunderstorm blossoming near the center very recently here, and you can see that low-level spin under it, more thunderstorms developing around it. This will continue over the next few hours as this continues to move off to the north and west, and it will continue to gradually organize, as I've been mentioning. Now, the eastern side of the storm has the strongest winds at this moment, but we're starting to see some wraparound. You see Key West, 25 miles per hour. That is for a wind gust there. We've seen gusts around 40, therefore we have that tropical storm strength that has been designated. We're going to look at the wind field forecast here. So this is the extent of the tropical storm winds. You see that yellow area there. Look at how it clips the coast as we advance in time. This is noon on Sunday, and your distance away from the center here that this is going, we're about 120 miles offshore, so off from Clearwater there, about 125 miles. But yet we still have tropical storm force winds reaching the coast there. Then the tropical storm force winds get into the Big Bend region. And also you see this area of stronger tropical storm force winds. We will be approaching hurricane strength as this thing strengthens. So places like Ocala, Cedar Key, Cross City, all the way to Lake City, and then even Valdosta, Georgia, maybe even Tallahassee getting clipped by some of the stronger winds here in yellow. And then you see the small area of red. That will be the core of hurricane force winds around what will likely develop an eye wall. So with those winds expected, we have tropical storm warning. Now, this is only tropical storm force winds. We're not expecting an extreme wind event at all, but it is something to note. And it is something to remember that we could see some power outages because of tropical storm force wind gusts here. So Tampa, Fort Myers, all along that Florida west coast, that Gulf Coast with that tropical storm warning. Then you see this area here, that brighter color. That is a hurricane warning that has been issued. Those areas could see possibly the hurricane force winds around the center as the storm strengthens. Also in this Big Bend region, we have a storm surge warning that has been issued. You see the storm surge watch extending all the way down to around Fort Myers, but here's that storm surge warning. In these areas, we could see some higher storm surge. In fact, the numbers have come up as of the last advisory. So here we are right now, 1 to 3 feet in the far southern tip of Florida. Then we go to around Tampa Bay, 2 to 4 feet. And then these numbers go even higher towards the Big Bend, 4 to 7 feet of storm surge. So if you're standing right on the beach, 4 to 7 feet there, and add some waves to that. So this could be a rather significant storm surge event, especially if this storm really does strengthen, which we are expecting to around a Category 1 hurricane. But it'll be something to watch, very closely. These are storm surge prone areas, and if we think back to Adalia, some of these places already have seen damage and storm surge. So this might be another time where we see storm surge in this portion of the Florida coast. That is not the only impact. The storm is expected to slow down significantly after landfall in forward motion. That means it'll be moving very slowly. It actually will pretty much stall over the southeastern United States, places like Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, and Florida. So we see possibly 10 to 15, maybe even higher amounts of rainfall as the storm stalls. These little bullseyes that you see, they will move around. Each and every outlook, they're going to move around. This is different than the outlook we showed earlier. Just understand that this general area is under a pretty significant threat for very heavy flooding rainfall, and you cannot dismiss that threat. We'll see river flooding, and we will see flash flooding from the heavy rain. So what might this look like on satellite and radar? This is one of our model projections. This is the graph forecast model. Notice how we have some rain bands here by noon on Sunday getting onto the west coast of Florida here, Tampa. We could see some embedded tornadoes in this. That is not out of the ordinary for a tropical system, just something to watch, and you have to be vigilant if you are in the Florida Peninsula. This thing continues to move to our north, possibly tropical storm conditions there with tropical storm force gusts near Tampa, Clearwater, points north there. And then we approach landfall time. Now, this is 10 p.m. on Sunday, and the storm is already getting close. But here we are on Monday. This is very early Monday morning. This model wants to bring the storm in, and you can see how it looks a little bit stronger here, kind of developing an eye wall feature in this forecast model. Now, this is just a model projection. This will change, but it gives you a great idea. Also, look at the heavy rainfall. Now, watch this. As the storm slows down and kind of sits over the same area, look at how much rain falls there over southeastern Georgia, coastal Georgia, even into the low country of South Carolina, Charleston possibly dealing with a lot there. So that is something to remember. Heavy rainfall, possible storm surge and possible tropical storm, maybe even hurricane force winds, along with the low threat of tornadoes as well. Just some of the tropical threats that we typically see with the tropical system, and Debby will definitely bring these threats to mostly Florida, but also once we get farther out in time, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina. Here in the Fox 10 viewing area, the Mobile, Pensacola area, we're actually expecting no impacts from the storm except for some rough surf late this weekend and early next week. If you're going down to the beaches, please be careful with that. I'm meteorologist Nicholas Herboso.